Hello everyone and welcome to the first lesson of this ZBrush course where we're going to learn how to create a robotic model. To do this we'll be taking inspiration from films like Star Wars or WALL-E or video games like Fallout. It's important that when you're planning your work you have references at hand to guide you. Even though you do something completely different, the references will always help you. So I'm going to show you how to model and finish the character, but I recommend that after the course, using what you've learned, you practice creating your own models. For this course, all you need is Photoshop and ZBrush. We'll be working with the latest version of this software, ZBrush 8, and that way we can explore the new features like the Gizmo and the live boolean, which will change the way of modeling with the Dynamesh that we've been using up to now. The aim is that you learn the process to generate a 3D model and then be able to take this knowledge and apply it to your own projects and characters. So let's get to it. So the first thing we'll do is open the program. In the light box, let's select this sphere. Pressing X, remove the symmetry, or you can also do that by clicking on this icon. We'll also remove the perspective. You also might notice this different interface that I have. That's because I'm using the interface that I use for professional work. That makes everything a lot easier. So go to Preferences, and there you're going to select Load UI. And here you'll select the file that I've uploaded for you in the attachment section. And this is the file for the interface. So click Open and you'll get a window telling you that you need to restart the program to implement the changes. So do that, go out of the program, come back, open it back up, and now you will have this interface. Okay? When you use the Move tool, pressing W, or clicking on this icon here, the first thing you'll find is this Gizmo, which is different to the traditional ZBrush Gizmo. It's more similar to a controller that you might find in a traditional 3D program like Cinema 4D, 3D Max, or Maya. It's very similar. If we wanted to go back to the old Gizmo, we can do, deactivating this box here, and we go back to the typical controller. During the course, we'll use one or the other, depending on how we need to work at that moment. And you'll see how soon you get used to the new controller. Okay, as you can see, moving the arrows from the Y-axis, the X-axis, and from the Z, we move the object. With these lines here, we can rotate the object. And from these little squares, we can deform it like this. From the central yellow square, we can scale all the axes at once. So like I said, it's similar to a normal controller in another 3D program. If you select from the edges, you can move the whole object. Now, if you select one edge, pressing down Alt, click and move the controller, what you'll see is the whole controller moves. And from here, we can still rotate the model, no problem. To take the controller back to the original point, to the middle, just click on this icon here, and this takes it back to the initial point. If you wanted to move the object to the initial point, then press this one here. And there you go. So these aren't the only novelties. If you click here, you get this panel where you can transform the subtool of any primitive that you have here. We can also incorporate different effects, which I'll now explain. Okay, so we're going to transform this sphere into a polycube. Click, and as you see, it's now a cube. Also, if you activate the mesh, you can see the cuts here, the segments. With these controllers here, we can handle the number of cuts that each side has, the number of segments. If you click on this icon, you can add a deformer to the object, like this one here. This is the typical deformer that you find in traditional 3D programs, where you can modify the mesh with the points. There are other deformers, like this one here, which transforms the cube into an arch. When the shape is defined, you can click on Accept, and that's our shape set. So, these features are going to make your work easier, more precise. One of the biggest changes is the Gizmo, which looks quite different now. But I think the most important one is definitely the live booleans, which I mentioned before. I'll go over this feature, and later on we'll see it in more depth. So, we'll go to Subtool, and we'll place a sphere like this. Let's scale it and place it around here. Okay, I'm sure you've heard of the booleans from other 3D programs. Basically, what we're going to do is add the cavity of the shape of the sphere to the cube. You could do this on ZBrush before, but it was a little bit more complicated, and now it's much more simple. So, click on this icon here. Now nothing happens, but you now need to click on Live Boolean. Okay, and the mesh changes to this. If you hide this, what you see is the hole completely cut and integrated inside the cube. Also, in real time, we can take the sphere, move it, and we can still see how the gap looks there in the cube. So you can move, you can deform the sphere really easily. This gives us a huge amount of possibilities when designing. It's another way of modelling, and during the course we'll use this feature to add more detail to our model. Okay, great, so we'll leave it there for now, and in the next lesson we're going to start creating our robotic character. We'll learn about ZModeler and other features of the booleans that we'll use to model. Okay, so I'll see you in the next lesson.